Hey everyone, so today we're diving into something kind of mind-blowing. We're decoding a dark, ancient secret that's literally been hiding in plain sight. I mean, we usually think of the peak of summer as this time of endless light, warmth, just pure life. But what if I told you that when ancient civilizations looked at this exact same time of year, they actually saw a brutal celestial murder?
Right? It totally flips our expectations about the warm, joyful month of June upside down. Why on earth would the absolute brightest, most vibrant month of the year be named after a killer? Well, to answer that, we've kind of got to strip away our modern understanding of calendars and weather apps, and we need to look up at the sky exactly how our ancestors did.
And to do that, we have to talk about astrotheology. You see, without modern science, ancient humans didn't just see the sun moving closer or farther away. No, they saw epic battles. They anthropomorphized the celestial bodies. So the sun's annual cycle, growing stronger in the spring and getting weaker in the fall, was mapped out as a literal life and death struggle. We're talking gods, heroes, and some seriously terrifying monsters.
Section 1, Introduction, the Summer Peak in Astro-Theology.
Okay, let's look at how ancient traditions charted the sun's annual journey. They essentially viewed it like a human lifespan. Around December 25th, just after the winter solstice, the sun is born as the days start slowly getting longer. Fast forward to March 21st, the spring equinox, and the sun is literally fighting the darkness and winning, bringing life back to the earth. But June 21st, the summer solstice? Yeah, it's the peak of light, but in ancient lore, this was the exact moment of a fatal attack. From this day on, the days start getting shorter, the sun is wounded, and by September 21st, the darkness finally overtakes the light.
Section 2, Development, Adonis, Persephone, and the Wild Boar.
So in the ancient Middle East and Mediterranean, the sun, at its absolute most powerful moment in the summer, was personified as the god Adonis. Or, in other cultures, he was called Tammuz or Dumuzi. Adonis is the radiant sun god. Around late June, astrologically speaking, he enters the constellation of Leo. He is literally the king of the sky, ruling with absolute heat, light, and authority. But as we know, even kings fall. According to the myth, right when Adonis is at his absolute brightest, Persephone, the goddess of the underworld and winter, starts getting incredibly jealous of the time he's spending with the goddess of spring. When Adonis refuses to go down to the underworld willingly, Persephone unleashes this fearsome wild boar. While Adonis is out hunting, right at the peak of his youth and power, the boar strikes him down. And guys, this isn't just some tragic fairy tale, it's an astrotheological allegory. The boar killing Adonis is the ancient way of explaining exactly why the days start getting shorter right after the longest day of the year. The sun takes a mortal wound and is slowly bleeding out, falling towards the underworld of winter. This story perfectly captures how ancient people understood the dual face of nature. On one hand, you have the mother, represented by Aphrodite, or the spring, who gives life, warmth, and abundant crops. But nature isn't just nurturing, right? The exact same earth that gives life eventually has to take it back. That's the destroyer face of nature, represented by Persephone and the winter. She brings the cold, the darkness, and essentially demands the death of the sun so the whole cycle can reset.
And you can actually see the proof of this right in the etymology. The name Persephone itself is basically a confession. It comes from porso in Proto-Italic, which means fresh or green things, and the Greek word phonos, meaning killer. Put it together, and Persephone literally translates to the killer of the green. She is the literal embodiment of winter executing the summer harvest. Section 3, Development, the solar number 7.
Now, the real key to unlocking this next myth is the number 7. In ancient solar myths, 7 is incredibly sacred. It represents the 7 months of dominant, life-giving sunlight and warmth we get before the deep freeze of winter really sets in. Keeping that number 7 in mind, let's look at the biblical story of Samson. Step 1, Samson is this hero with supreme, unbeatable physical power. Step 2, he falls in love with Delilah, who is secretly working for his enemies, and she uncovers the secret to his strength. Step 3, while he's sleeping, she cuts off his 7 golden locks of hair. And step 4, Samson instantly loses his power, he's blinded, and he's dragged away into the darkness. All right, let's decode this myth. The name Samson actually comes from the root shamash, or shemesh, which literally translates to sun. So, Samson is the sun god. Delilah, she represents the approaching night and the betrayal of winter. And those 7 golden locks of hair, they're the sun's rays, representing the 7 warm, dominant months of the year. When Delilah cuts them, it is the exact same astrotheological event as the wild boar attacking Adonis. The light is cut, the warmth is lost, and the sun falls into the dark half of the year.
Section 4. Conclusion. The etymology of destruction. So the crazy thing is, the ancient killer from the Adonis myth isn't just a story locked away in some dusty old books. The weapon, the killer itself, is still hiding right there in the exact word that millions of people use to describe the month of June today.
Let's actually trace the word Haziran. That's the name for the month of June in modern Turkish and several other Middle Eastern calendars. In ancient Akkadian, the word Hınzır means wild boar. Over in Hebrew, the root hazir means wild boar, but it also means to cut or to end. And in Arabic, Hınzır means wild boar. Are you catching those phonetic similarities? Hınzır, hazir, Hınzır, Haziran.
And there is the final proof. The word Haziran, used for the month of June, derives directly from these ancient Semitic roots. The core meaning of this linguistic root revolves entirely around cutting, ending, and destruction. And what was the ultimate ancient mythological symbol of that exact destruction? The wild boar. So when millions of people say Haziran to refer to the sunny, bright month of June, etymologically speaking, they are literally calling it the month of the killer boar.
It really brings the entire narrative full circle, doesn't it? The longest day of the year is an astronomical reality, sure, but ancient humanity encoded this bittersweet truth into their myths and language. The sun reaches its absolute peak of power only to be immediately struck down by the boar of time. Life and death are just perfectly balanced in the turning of the wheel.
I want to leave you with this provocative thought from the explainer. The ghosts of ancient solar myths still dictate our modern calendars, leaving us to speak the names of ancient killers every single day. So next time you're enjoying a long, warm summer evening, just remember the invisible boar waiting in the shadows and the incredible, ancient human imagination that put it there. Thanks for joining me, and I'll catch you on the next Deep Dive.